7:01. So I get the honors. Alicia, you're not sure if you want to do the,
Do you want me to? I presented today at a virtual conference, but I
Yep.
can not.
Yeah. Well, why don't we'll figure it out as we go through this, but I'll start off and we'll see how long this takes us to get through. So.
Yeah, if it's like last month, I will gladly split it with you.
Okay, so let's get into it and we can figure it out since you've got all the material and stuff. So
I have everything right here.
great. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. And before we start it, I'm going to introduce everyone. I'm Sandy Brock. And when I call your name, please confirm that you are present. Everything's going to be done by roll call. So we're going to start by commissioners. Helen?
Yes, I am here, Helen Cheney.
Alicia?
I'm here.
Patrick is not here at the moment. And John?
Here.
Very good. And as far as our staff, Leah?
Here.
And Samantha?
Present.
Okay. We anticipate the following speakers. I'm going to call them out. If they happen to be here, please acknowledge. They all may not be here yet, so I'm going to start with Jason Dubois. And don't see him on. Stephen May.
Here.
Thank you. Joe Lasado. Bill Hannigan.
Bill Hannigan's out of the office for the week, so Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering will be talking on his behalf.
All right, thank you very much. Norm Hill, he's not on yet. Okay, and James Tetrot. Probably said that incorrectly.
That's Tetro, but that's fine.
Okay, sorry for the mispronunciation, but I was pretty happy that I got most of them close. So thank you. To start, we're just going to do just an opening kind of informational notice. So this open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with the Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by telephone and via conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. All supporting materials that have been provided to the commission are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Before we get started, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda after they conclude their remarks. I will go through the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. After the members have spoken, I will afford the public comment as follows. The chair will read public comments, questions received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board or applicant responses. Then I will read real-time comments, questions typed by computer participants in the chat feature, followed by real-time board and applicant responses. Please note anyone wishing to contribute comments or questions via the chat feature, they need to be addressed to everyone and not any sole individual. Finally, each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call, and the Celtics are winning 24-13.
Oh my God, thank God.
Okay. All right. So seeing that it's 7:06, let's go to some action items before our first public hearing. Any in particular order, Leah, that we should take?
No, you can just go down the list. It's fine.
Okay, so let's start with the August 18th, 2020 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments or questions? They were on the website, in the Dropbox. If no one has any comments or questions on the meeting minutes, can I have a motion to approve them?
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the August 18th meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, and I will do a roll call of the folks that are in attendance. So I will go by the order which I see people on the Zoom screen. So John,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
and Alicia. And I am also a yes, and so the motion carries. All right, the next one is request for change, for a minor change for 43 and 40 Eastbrook Ave, Estabrook Ave. And it's for the solar arrays. Do we have more information on that, Leah?
Yes. So let me just pull up a couple of plans for you guys. 1 second. Previously, they were proposing a wildlife seed mix for the majority of the solar arrays that you guys approved. I think a couple of years ago now. This is not working. Hold on. Are you guys seeing anything? No.
No.
Sorry, hang on.
Seeing my cat walk by.
I saw the cat.
Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so there were 2 solar arrays, one on either side of Estabrook Avenue that you guys approved previously. They were proposing a wildlife seed mix to all the grubbed, graded, and field areas previously. I have plans for both. We're currently looking at 44 Estabrook. Now they would like to do winter rye and straw in place. It makes the agricultural component of these arrays a little more manageable. They're still proposing the wildlife seed mix for any basins and swales, so basically any non-farmed areas. The one thing that I did find that would be a little bit contradictory was an ongoing condition from the permit for 43 Estabrook, which I'll pull up that one now. And that condition stated that the solar array would be seeded with that wildlife mix upon final grading as detailed in the approved plans. When food crops are introduced into the array, the disturbance shall be limited to the areas that will be in active crop production. All the surrounding areas were to remain vegetated with the wildlife seed mix.
Okay. So I have, is there anyone here to speak to that change?
1 second, let me look. Looks like we have 2 folks from Blue Wave.
Okay.
Drew, if you can hear us, I promoted you to a panelist. You should be able to speak if you unmute yourself.
Great. Hi, everybody. If you can hear me.
Yes, we can. So I have just a couple quick questions, and I'll keep it broad. Why? I mean, Leah kind of read why you're doing this, but I'm just curious because you correct me if I'm wrong, but you said annual rye and then straw.
Yeah, I believe it was annual, just in line with conventional cover crop methods that are recommended by NRCS.
Okay, and then as far as straw goes, is there any issues with the straw? I'm just thinking of if the fire department would have any issues with having that type of material underneath the solar arrays. And then I guess the final question would be, obviously the wildlife kind of mix provides certain value to wildlife and habitat, and how is that compared to the 2 species that you're looking to introduce?
Great. Yeah, thanks for the questions. So when we brought this up with the planning board, no concerns over the fire department, sort of jurisdiction were raised. And I think that more broadly, because the panels are themselves raised 10 feet off the ground, I mean, the vegetation could grow 3 feet, 4 feet high, and there's no risk to, posing an electrical fire just by virtue of it being so high off the ground. And all of the wiring, et cetera, will be enclosed within conduit that will either be buried underground or encased, within a vertical. Just even in the interest of keeping animals and people away from any, from posing any risk. So to that end, I think that, from top to bottom, the project itself is designed in a way to really minimize any risk of, electrical fire, essentially. So I wouldn't personally, see the straw as complicating any of that, and the fire chief or planning board, did not raise any concerns
Okay.
to that. And as to your second question, this is really, excuse me, I'm sorry, I had something in my throat. This is really seen as our intermediate step to ultimately preparing the site for the long-term use, at least for the north, of farming other ground crops. And, that's going to be a dynamic sort of type of ground cover, obviously, just by virtue of it being a farm. But on the southern array, this is going to be the precursor to a permanent meadow that we will be planting, presumably, call it springtime at the conclusion of the project. So the straw and winter rye really is just to be a holdover for a few months until we come back in with the more permanent seed mix that was previously approved by the Conservation Commission for the grazing operation. We similarly share, interests in promoting wildlife habitat, and so we were, attentive to keeping it, in and around the stormwater basins. And, I think to that end, this is, really our effort to strike a balance between the agricultural nature of the operation and, doing what we can to maintain the existing original spec that was approved.
Okay. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions? I will poll the commission now. John?
No, I don't have any questions.
Helen?
No, none at this time.
And Alicia?
Nope, no questions.
Okay. Yeah, I think your explanation, the fact that, the end game of this is going to be agricultural. If this is, if these seed mix are more of a temporary to get through the construction process, get through the winter and so forth, I don't see a big issue. I think the only thing we need to do is as far as this is a request for change. So basically there's 3 levels of changes that you can request. One is the minor changes, what you've characterized this as, which we can do now through just a vote. The second one is to actually require a public hearing under this notice. And the third one is have a new notice of intent. I do think this is probably something that belongs as a minor change. I'll look at the rest of the commission if anyone has anything different about that. So I'll just do a quick roll call. So this is my question. If we all believe that this is a minor change. John?
Yes.
Helen?
I agree. This is just a minor change.
And Alicia?
I agree also.
Okay. So Leah, did you have any suggestions on maybe, phrasing this so that it's just that these seed mixes are an intermediate solution until the permanent either agricultural or meadow is actually planted?
Yeah, that sounds great. And I usually send a letter for minor changes, so the wording would reflect what you just said.
Great, perfect. And we just need to have a motion for this. Great.
Yep.
So do I have a motion to issue the minor change for the solar array?
I make a motion to issue the minor change for the solar array at 44 and 43 Estabrook Avenue.
Great. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
We'll do a vote. We'll do a roll call. John?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
Alicia?
Yes.
And I am also a yes, the motion carries. Okay, so it's now 7:17. So we're going to go back to our first public hearing, which has been asked for a continuance. So let me just read this to open it. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for a line 323 right-of-way access route at 240 Rare Upton Street in Grafton. The applicant has requested a continuance to October 20th. Do I hear a motion to continue?
I make a motion to continue the hearing for 240 Rear Upton Street to the 10:20 meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
All right, we'll do a roll call. John?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
Alicia? Alicia?
Yes.
Okay, and I am also yes, and so the motion carries. Seeing that 7:18, we'll continue and go back down to action items. The request for partial certificate of compliance for 130 McGill Drive. Leah, you want to just fill us in?
Sure. So this is just like we had a bunch of these at our last meeting, one house lot looking for clearance from the order that covered the subdivision. I checked all the conditions and anything relevant to that lot has been met. So I recommend you issue the partial.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to issue the partial certificate of compliance for the lot at 130 McGill Drive.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
I'll do a roll call. John?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
Alicia? I think you're on mute.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. I saw your lips move. I am also a yes, the motion carries. All right, moving right along. Request for certificate of compliance for 22 Stony Brook Road. Leah, what's up with this?
So this is an address that we will be talking about at our 7:45. So when we were looking through old files, when reviewing for their new one, we found this old order. It was a permit for stream and wetland restoration. They have a little stream that goes through the front yard, through a culvert under their driveway. We got a letter of sign off from the engineer about that restoration work. So I recommend you issue the COC.
Sure. Okay, any discussion on this or other questions on this? Not seeing any, so do I have a motion?
I make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for the project at 22 Stony Brook Road.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
We'll do a roll call. John?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
Alicia?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, the motion carries. Looks like the last thing is we have a land use application for Pell Farm.
So this was a scout troop that wanted to do a little camping trip one night at Pell Farm. They were proposing it for the 12th. So we had let them know that this approval wouldn't happen until tonight. If they chose to continue on the 12th, it would be at their own risk. We
Yep.
didn't hear back from them, so we kept it on the agenda. If you guys are comfortable and want to do a retroactive approval of that use, or decide how you want to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem doing a retroactive one. The only concern is with any of these applications for a land use application is just to make sure that people are following the governor's criteria for gatherings and so forth and social distancing. Obviously, doing camping is probably one of the one activity that is very possible to do. I would just make sure that it was less than 25 people. And if it
Um,
was, I don't have a problem with that.
Hold on, I have the form right here.
Yeah, 25 people was how many they estimated.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's, I mean, that's the maximum. I mean, I don't think it matters if it's 18 or 25, just as long as it's 25
Not
or less.
100.
You got it. Exactly. So, so I don't have any issue with doing that. I think it would be good just to kind of follow through and vote on that. So do I have, does anyone have any issues doing this retroactively? I'm not seeing anything. So do I have a motion for this to approve?
I make a motion to approve the land use application for Grafton Boy Scout troops to use the property at Pell Farm.
I have a second.
I second that.
All those in favor? John,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes, yep.
Alicia,
Yep.
and I am also a yes, so the motion carries. Okay, so that is through action items. Is there any other discussion items or anything else, Leah, that we should chat for about 2 minutes?
So one more thing came up that you can see on the agent report. Another minor change request, and I will
Okay.
pull up the plan for you guys to see now. Maybe only a meeting or two ago, we approved 126 Worcester Street to expand their parking. And one of the conditions of that permit was that they would do some soil testing prior to commencement of work. They did that testing and they found that they had to alter the system a little bit to maintain the 2-foot separation from groundwater. They also found unsuitable fill in the rear of the building, so they removed, this was the plan that you guys approved previously. They removed this rear infiltration unit because of that fill in the back. And then they are proposing to redirect the runoff that would have gone to this one to the other two. So the size of those two changed. This is the new plan.
Okay. So they basically swapped out the locations based on the sewer, based on the soils.
Yep.
Does anyone have any questions on this, or think that we should send this out for a peer review again? Did it go through peer review previously?
I think so. Let me double check on that. 1 second.
I mean, if they're matching volumes, I don't have a real issue. I mean, the whole requirement of the soil testing is to find this type of condition and then resolve it. So
Lee, did you say that they have a groundwater issue, or the groundwater is higher there or something in the back?
In the back, they said they found unsuitable fill. If you guys, I'm not sure if it's in Dropbox, they gave a little letter or narrative through email about what they found. Give me 1 second. It does look like it was peer reviewed with Graves basically through the planning board, and we kind
Okay.
of piggybacked off of that.
perfect. And I'm guessing Graves had no issue with the changes.
I don't think these changes have gone to them. This was when we were permitting it in the first place. It was peer reviewed, is what I was confirming.
Okay.
I can have him look at this plan as well.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the whole idea of doing the soil testing is so we can make these changes based on what they find. They've changed changed it, and just from a visual perspective, it looks like they just swapped it out and basically replaced them with other areas. How do other people feel about whether they should go back for peer review or not? So I'll go around. So John?
I don't see the letter on Dropbox. That might just be missing it, but do they confirm that the volume's the same? They're just splitting it now?
Let me look.
That'd be my only question, was if it's the same volume and it's
Yep.
splitting, then I don't know if, I don't believe that it needs to go back to pier, but I'm not sure if that's the typical approach in the town.
This is, you know, it depends upon the project and how big. I mean, this seems fairly straightforward, and I would agree with your assessment. If they're matching volumes and all they're doing is shifting it around, then.
All right, I can read you.
Alicia, do you have any?
Oh,
Okay, go
sorry.
ahead, Leah.
They said estimated seasonal high groundwater was found to be approximately 48 inches on site. So the subsurface infiltration systems, as well as the gravel infiltration trenches at the edge of the proposed pavement, had to be modified slightly in order to maintain a 2-foot separation. The rear of the property was also found to be unsuitable fill, so one of the subsurface infiltration systems was removed and roof runoff, which was to be directed to this system, was therefore distributed between the other 2 systems still remaining, one of which was increased in size due to the additional flow. The soils present were found to be gravelly, loamy sand, so the infiltration rates used in the initial design were accurate. If you need a revised stormwater analysis report, let them know and they can get it to us.
Because of the seasonally high groundwater, did they show the cut dropping? So, because those infiltration systems, usually if their groundwater is high, you have to put like some type of a barrier between it, so the groundwater's not going into the infiltration.
Well, yeah, that's what the 2-foot separation's for. So, what that letter is saying is that they raised the system. You know, that they raised the system up so they could maintain the 2 feet.
Okay.
That's what, yeah.
No, my gut would be, I don't think it needs to go back by pier, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, no, that's cool. Alicia?
Yeah, I agree with John. It sounds like they've made the appropriate accommodations. I don't think it needs to be peer reviewed again.
Okay, great. And then Helen.
Can you just tell me exactly where this is? I mean, just give me some landmarks so that I can,
It's the chiropractor.
oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Sorry, we kind of talked at the same time. What did you say, John?
I was gonna say it's right by Mass Pike in that kind of area there on 140.
Okay,
Street.
above the Little Quincy, where the DOT is, right above the, okay.
I think it's right next to the car dealership there, but that's just,
Yeah, yep, okay, I got you.
sorry, Leah, didn't mean to talk at the same
No,
time.
that's fine.
Oh, sometimes I just need a visual.
That's okay.
I know that we've discussed this before, so I think that there is no need for further discussion, and I'm in favor of what other folk have
Right,
come to the conclusion.
right. I mean, the way I look at it, we had it initially peer reviewed. It's a relatively small project. We had a condition about the checking and doing additional soil testing. They did that. They found a condition that made them slightly change things. They've updated, revised their plans, and resubmitted it, which is why the condition was there. So to me, they're following all of those steps, and visually looking at it, it looks
Exactly.
appropriate. So,
Yep.
all right. So having had that discussion, do I have a motion?
1 second.
Oops, go ahead.
Hold on. I just want to point out you guys have a question in the chat.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Remember, this is a discussion item and not a public hearing. So what was the question? Let's see here. Okay, so did the review look at the potential impact to Snow Marsh, Quincy River, and behind the property? So this is from Susan Thomas. If you could just add your address just for our record, that would be great. And then from my perspective, when they first proposed this, it went through planning and through Concom. As far as the planning review, they went and sent it out to Graves Engineering. Thank you for adding your address. They sent it out to Graves Engineering. They are our peer reviewer, so they're an outside engineering firm that looks at our projects, and then they do a report. So that process has gone through. When they look at that, they look to make sure that the drainage meets the state stormwater standards, and to make sure there's no impacts due to increased rate of volume going off the site. So they're looked at in underneath or under the stormwater standards from the state. It's what the regulations that we are under. They also look at what our local bylaw says, which adds volume to that. So they do look at the impacts to anything off-site, and that the idea of the stormwater standards is that those infiltration and basins underground are there to mitigate any increases from the improved impervious, and that's what they're doing to mitigate the impacts. Hopefully that answers your question. I'll give you a minute to kind of, okay, that's great. That answers that. So yes, and so what they did is we required them to do some additional soil testing. And when they did it, they made some adjustments to their design based on that, which is what we would want them to do. So, and where we're at now is that this is a request for a minor change, and we're going to vote to approve that minor change. Okay. And I will just give a minute to see if anyone else has any questions on that. Other than that, Alicia, you moved on the screen. So if we can have, we didn't do a motion yet, right?
Correct.
Okay. So can we have a motion to approve this minor change?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the minor change for the project at 126 Worcester Street.
And do I have a second?
I second that.
And then we'll do a vote, and I'll do a roll call. So Alicia, you're on the left-hand side now, so you get to go first.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Helen?
Yes, yep.
I am also a yes, and the motion carries. Okay, seeing now that it's 7:34, let's go back up to, I have to switch. Okay, so let me do 7:30. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Conservation Commission held a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw for the septic system replacement at 51 Potter Hill Road. And who is here to speak to that, Leah?
I'm not seeing the name I was looking for.
Is someone here to speak for 51 Potter Hill Road? Not hearing anyone. Leah, can you just give us a brief overview of what this project is for?
Sure, it's pretty straightforward. Pull up that plan now. So 51 Potter Hill Road, the street is at the north of the page, way up here. So you have the house in the front, and they're looking to do a septic system replacement. They addressed everything outstanding that Samantha and I let them know they needed to take care of. So we didn't have anything additional that we had flagged other than that the commission should consider a special condition for signage along the no disturb, because it does fall almost right along the tree line for their yard. So we just figured so that it wouldn't be expanded in the future.
Okay, so who's the representative or the engineer for this?
Give me 1 second. I think Mary Campbell, which is the name I had on the agenda, I think might be the owner. Let me just look back at the engineer.
That's Jason Dubois. That's the engineer.
Thank you.
Okay, and neither one of those are on the call, either as a panelist or as a attendee.
Look like it.
Hello. Hello.
Wow.
Hi, this is Jason Dubois, DC Engineering. I was just trying to answer, and for some reason you couldn't hear me, so I had to sign off and retry and enter my phone in here.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm here. Yeah, 51
It-
Potter Hill Road.
Okay, if you want to just give a quick description of it, Leah will bring it up on the monitor.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a septic system repair plan. We went out and did perk tests with the Board of Health. Those areas where the septic system is proposed seem to be the best location for the system. We hit some fill and some large boulders throughout the backyard area. The septic system as proposed is 52.1 feet to the closest wetland. It is entirely in the existing lawn area. You can see on the plan there's an existing tree line. There is no proposed work with 25-foot no disturb zone, although some of that 25-foot zone is in the existing lawn area. Other than that, the septic tank is basically in the same location, right at the 100-foot or pretty close to the 100-foot buffer zone limit. And that's about it.
Okay, great. I'll go to the commissioners and do a roll call. If anyone has any questions, I don't have any questions. So Helen, any questions?
No questions.
Alicia, any questions?
No questions.
Jonathan?
Nope. No questions.
Okay, and then as far as Leah, as far as your recommendations, we would just the special condition for the no disturb signage along the tree line, just so it's never expanded.
Okay. So you want it on the tree line, not the no
On the
disturb.
on the 25-foot no disturb. Yes, so where it comes in to the lawn, we should put the signs on the 25-foot no disturb.
Okay.
Unless the applicant has anything to say about that.
No, that should be fine.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Leah, anything else that we should include on this one?
Nope, that's all I had.
So do I have a motion?
I make a motion to close this hearing and issue an order of conditions with the standard conditions, including that there be no disturb signage put up at the 25-foot no disturb line for the project at 51 Potter Hill Road.
Thank you. Excuse me, do I have a second?
Yes, I second that motion.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call for the vote, and John is back on the left-hand side. So John,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
and Alicia.
Yes.
Okay, and I am also a yes. The motion carries and the order of condition is issued. We have 5 minutes. Anything to discuss in the 5 minutes before our next public hearing?
You can do the motion to continue 21 Meadowbrook.
Oh,
Let me see.
It's second one down under continuations.
Oh, okay. I gotta just switch back to. Okay. Okay, so this is 21 Meadowbrook. Okay. So
Correct.
pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for the construction of a single-family house at 21 Meadowbrook Road. The applicant has requested a continuance to October 6th. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to continue the hearing for 21 Meadowbrook Road to the meeting on October 6th.
and I
Great. Do I-
second that.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. I will do the roll call. Alicia, you're back on the left-hand side, so you get to go first.
Yes.
And John
Yes.
and Helen.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The hearing has been continued. Okay. All right.
Pat from Norman Hill asking if we could talk about 31 George Hill Road.
Which one is 31 George Hill Road?
It's
That's
the
a
next one
continuance.
down. Yeah.
Okay, we've got a scheduled public hearing in 3 minutes, so we're gonna do the scheduled public hearing. Okay,
Could I just take a bathroom break, please?
absolutely. We can take a bio break. We will not, I will wait for you. Be my guest. It's real life, you know? It's a little mini reality show here.
The Celtics still winning?
They were tied. I don't know. I haven't looked back there.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
I'm not even a basketball fan. I just figured I'd ask.
Hold on.
I'm just happy it's not on at 9 o'clock at night.
Are they gonna show me the score? No, they're not. I'll tell you in a second as soon as it comes back up.
Yeah, I mean, I have it on in my background.
It's still tied 55-55 at halftime.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. So once Helen is back, we will continue.
So October, we go back to 2 meetings, correct?
Correct.
Just swinging through.
Oh, excuse me.
Thank you, folks. Nature calls
Not a problem.
sometimes.
Don't worry, we still have about a minute left before the next one starts. So
Oh, I could eat a cheese and cracker then.
yeah, you could have.
Sandy, are you still working all remote?
I see you, Alicia. What are you eating?
Black licorice.
Oh,
Yep. Yeah, I'm about 98% remote. Every once in a while I go to a site, but all right, 7:45. Next up, pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission held a public hearing to act upon a request for determination of applicability to replace an existing driveway at 22 Stony Brook Road in Grafton. So who do we have to present that?
Stephen May, I'm the homeowner at 22 Stony Brook Road, Grafton.
Mr. May, feel free to present it. And I don't know if yep, Leah's bringing up.
So it's a hand-drawn
go.
plan by Asphalt Engineering. Essentially, it's an existing driveway. I bought the property in 1993, and it is in significant disrepair. I am looking to rip out and replace the entire driveway, but we pass over a culvert about halfway down the driveway. That's my chicken scratch. I apologize. But I am not widening the driveway and replacing it at its existing footprint. The only place I'm adding driveway is up near the garage, where if you can see at the very top of the picture, at the very top, there's about a 24 by 25 foot section where the sawhorses are in this picture, or in the blueprint, in the hand-drawn plans, right at the very top of the plan, where you see the square box. Otherwise, it's the exact same footprint it was when I bought the home in 1993. So, and also, I just want to add, I joined you today from Destin, Florida, and if you don't know, that's the Panhandle. So out behind me is a Cat 2 hurricane. So if I float away or lose power, that's what happened to me.
Oh, my goodness.
But
So,
I should be fine.
okay, so, yeah, stay safe.
Thank you.
Yes.
And we'll make this brief, but thank you for the description. So I'm just going to go around quick with the commissioners and see if anyone has any questions. Alicia, do you have any
Nope,
questions
no
on
questions.
this? John? And
No,
Helen.
no questions.
My only question is on that sketch, where are the wetlands?
There's a stream that the culvert is connected to the stream. If you go back to the picture.
Here.
Oh, okay, so it's down there. Okay, no,
Yeah.
I have no other
Yeah,
questions.
see where the, I guess they're cat nine tails to the right, and then
Yep.
the grass, it's a small intermittent
Yep,
stream.
Gotcha. And I was just looking why you were in front of us. That was my only question. Obviously, this photo shows the disrepair it's in. I don't have any questions. So do we have, Aaliyah, do you have anything else to add?
I just suggest a condition for straw wattles to be installed along the limit of work adjacent to the culvert.
Okay, that sounds great. Having that, if there's nothing else, I would like to entertain a motion.
I make a motion to issue a negative determination with the special condition that straw wattles be installed along the limit of work adjacent to the culvert for the project at 22 Stony Brook Road.
Great. A second?
I second that motion, not emotion, motion.
So we'll do a roll call for the vote. So John?
Yes.
And Helen?
Yes.
And Alicia? And I'm also a yes. So I will just explain, when we issue a negative determination, that means we're saying that you do not have to do any further permitting. I don't know how familiar you are with the process. If we issue a positive determination, that means you have to do a full notice of intent. So bottom line, by doing a negative determination, this is the end of the permitting in front of the Conservation Commission. So I just
Yes,
want to make that.
That was explained to me by Samantha. Without her help, I would have clearly been more lost than I already am. So thank you.
Okay, that's great. I just wanted to make sure that you understood that the negative determination is actually what you want. And so at this point, other than adding some straw wattles and so forth, you're all set. And beyond that, probably a good idea for you to get offline
Thank you.
and be safe
Stay safe.
in the
Thank you so
hurricane.
much.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So Leah, do we have enough time to take one of the continuances within 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think we can fit 31 George Hill in now.
Okay. So I'll open that and we'll see if we can get that in there. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw for the construction of a single-family house at 31 George Hill Road.
Good evening. Good evening.
Uh,
This is Norman Hill. And can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Go ahead.
Well, good evening to everyone. So this is a vacant wooded lot, and they're proposing to build a new house with septic system and well. And the driveway goes back to the house about 300 feet. There's the plan there. So along George Hill Road, there's a ditch that's been dug, a drainage ditch. And so when there's a storm event, there'll be water flowing in that ditch. But there are no wetland plants in that ditch. There are no hydric soils and no groundwater within several feet of the surface. So I didn't flag it as a DEP wetland, but it would be flagged as a Grafton wetland. And so in order to get to this house, we have to cross it. So we proposed a culvert. So the last plan we had in front of you didn't show those Grafton wetlands. Now there's a second culvert proposed about 150 feet up, about halfway between the road and the house. There's sort of there's a hillside. It's not really a valley, but this, you know how on these hills you get, you get high spots and low spots. Well, there's a valley that's dry unless there's a storm event. And the rainfall, I noticed when I was out there, I could see how the leaves have been pushed aside by probably a torrent of a cloudburst. But so we've also flagged that area with Grafton wetland flags. So it's distinguished. You can see wetland flag 211G up above. You can see the Grafton wetland flags. Now, it's important to note, Arthur Allen looked at this and he agreed that they're not DEP wetlands, but he believes they would be Grafton wetlands. So we have completed and submitted a waiver to allow construction within 25 feet of the Grafton wetlands. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Leah, do you have anything else to add to this?
Besides the waiver request, I just had one special condition for the culverts to be set at the existing grade as noted in Art's letter. Other than that, I have nothing outstanding left on this one.
Okay, great. I'm just going to go around real quick with a roll call to see if anyone else has any questions. John.
No, I don't have any questions.
Helen.
I don't have any. Thank you.
Alicia.
No questions from me.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is have a motion and a vote on the waiver request to work within the 25 feet of a locally jurisdictional wetland, which is the culvert at the entrance of the driveway. Do I have a motion for that?
Let me just
go ahead.
add, it's also for the culvert up the driveway. They're both Grafton wetlands.
Okay, then we'll include for both. Yes. Thank you.
I make a motion for work to be conducted within the 25-foot no disturb zone for the project at 31 George Hill Road.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, and I'll do a roll call vote. Alicia.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
And Helen.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion carries. The waiver is approved. And then do I have a motion? Before I get to that, I'm just going to open up to the public to see if anyone has any comments or questions on this project at 31 George Hill Road. You can actually enter your question in the chat feature. And I'm just kind of slow talking at the moment to see if anyone has anything or adding anything. And no one is adding anything at the moment. So why don't we go ahead and do the motion and go through the vote.
I make a motion to close this hearing and issue an order with the following special condition: that the culverts be set to the existing grade for the project at 31 George Hill Road.
Great. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, we still have no comments from the public, so I'll do the roll call vote. Alicia.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Helen.
Yes.
And I'm also a yes, so the hearing is closed and the order of condition is issued.
Thank you very much. Everyone stay well. Thank you.
Okay, yep. All right, so is there anything else we can take care of in 5 minutes?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. Just to let anyone else who happens to be listening in or watching, when we have a public hearing that is at a specified time, we can't start that hearing until we are at that time. That's why we're waiting for 8 o'clock. On the continuances, we can hear them at any point, but we try to stick to the specified time for the public hearings, which is usually their first public hearing. So.
To the chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is James Tatro, representing on behalf of the ridings. I don't believe we did not receive, I don't know if anyone was issued a review letter from the peer reviewer before this meeting. And I was actually just going to ask for a continuance because we're going to have to do that anyways as a result of not having that letter.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to present tonight? Otherwise, we'll take care of it now.
I guess not. I mean, I'm sure we'll have a little more discussion than with that letter, but I was going to ask for a continuance
Okay.
because we're not receiving that.
Okay. So any status on that, Leah?
No, we're just still waiting.
Okay. So I'm going to thank you for that information because I will open that now and we can have that short discussion in a public hearing, and then we can end up continuing. Okay. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, an application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw for construction of a 39-lot subdivision at 88 Adams Road called The Ridings. And please go ahead and give your name and your question to the applicant.
Hello.
Okay, you were just talking, so.
James, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't. Why would I have a question for the applicant?
No, can you basically, if you're going to request a continuance, if you could do that.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I would ask that the commission please continue this hearing to your next meeting on, I guess, October 6th.
That would be the next meeting, correct?
Yep.
I will just open it up to the public to see if anyone has any comments or questions. And I'm just looking at the chat feature to see if anyone is typing anything. Other than that, we will continue the hearing. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to continue the hearing for 88 Adams Road, the Ridings subdivision, to our next meeting on October 6th.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
And still nothing from anyone in the public. So we'll do a roll call vote. Alicia?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Helen?
Yes.
I am also a yes. It is continued. The hearing is continued to our next meeting. And Leah, if you can check with Graves to see what the status is of that peer review, that would be helpful. Thank
Will
you.
do.
All right.
Thank you all.
All right.
Have a good night.
You're welcome.
You too.
Stay safe.
All right. It's 8 o'clock. So on to 8 o'clock. So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a request for determination for applicability to replace the soil absorption system at 12 Gershom Drive. Who is there for this particular application?
Good evening, everyone. Bert Corey with DGT Associates.
You have the floor.
All right, I just bring up the drawing itself. This is just a replacement soil absorption system. There's one there now that has failed. And so we need to, I think we have to relocate or replace the distribution box as well as the 3 leaching trenches. A wetland specialist from our office went out to the site, and you can see in the lower part of the screen the wetland flags that were put in place. We drew the 100-foot buffer zone off of that, and the work that we're doing to replace the soil absorption system is within the 100 feet. Actually, it'll be replaced a little bit further away from the wetland resource area. So that works out pretty good. We've also shown erosion and sediment controls around the perimeter of the proposed work. There's not going to be any work within the actual wetland. And the soil absorption system is separated from the wetland by a driveway that's there. It's an existing driveway.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just go around the commission to see if they have any questions or comments on this. So Helen,
No, none at this time.
Alicia,
No?
and John.
No.
Leah, anything as far as your review of the submission?
Everything's been addressed that we asked for. I just had 3 special conditions I was suggesting. 1, that the erosion control function as the limit of work. 2, that no stockpiling shall occur within the 100-foot buffer zone. And the 3rd one, I wasn't sure if it was applicable, but if necessary, a concrete washout shall be utilized.
May not be applicable. So I would go to the applicant if they have any questions on these conditions that we're proposing.
Yeah, sure. The last one with regards to a concrete washout, we're not anticipating that there'll be any concrete truck doing that work. They're infiltrator systems, they're plastic chambers. There will be an excavator or a backhoe on site doing the excavation, but there really should not be any reason to have a concrete truck there.
Okay.
There will, if they have to block out any of the orifices in the distribution box, that'll be something that's done by hand. They typically, will just mix up some type of like a mortar just to place in the boxes, but that's a small operation. With regards to the number 2 condition, you mentioned no stockpiling within the 100-foot buffer. The work that you see within the erosion and sediment control barrier is within the 100 foot. So when they're doing the work, they need to pull the material out, stockpile that to the side, install the new chambers, and then they're going to backfill from there. They're really not going to be bringing material to stockpile anywhere on the site, but as part of their work, they will need to stockpile some soil adjacent to the leaching trenches.
What you're talking about is to do a trench and have the excavated material next to the trench. What this is intended to do is if you were to excavate, an area and then stockpile it and then not put it back into the trench for a couple of days or a week. Kind of give me a little bit more information on your timing of, you're going to dig it, you're going to lay it.
Yeah.
It's going to go back within the same day or so.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, as long as we're clear on what our intent is, as far as stockpiling, it's not the excavated earth next to the trench. It's if you were to, as an example, if you were grubbing an area and taking off all the topsoil and stockpiling it, that's the stockpile.
Yeah. Okay.
And that doesn't belong in the 100-foot buffer. If you're not going to be taking the topsoil off or doing any kind of extensive excavation, then that doesn't really apply.
Yeah, I would imagine that they will be scraping the topsoil just to get to the, to the material, the backfill that's over the existing chambers, because those chambers are supposed to be decommissioned in accordance with the Grafton Board of Health. So, ultimately I would say that they'll scrape the topsoil and then they will push that to the side. But again, once they're done with putting in the new chambers, they're just going to cast that loam back over the top.
And when I look at the layout of this plan and I look at where the 100-foot buffer is, basically you'd be just stockpiling just to the north of your erosion control. That's outside of the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah, we also have a performance standard on page 2 that says if any stockpile areas, obviously they'd have to be surrounded with some type of a straw wattle too for protection.
Right. Yeah, it's just for us, it's just a way to get potential issues outside of the buffer zone, so it's less likely to impact the wetlands.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
Yep, thanks. Any other questions from the commissioners? And at the same time, I'll actually put it out to the public. If you do have any questions on this project, please use the chat function and put your question in and put your name and address along with that. And that's for 12 Gershom Road, Drive, I mean. And not seeing anyone say anything, so we will do a roll call. Excuse me. Before we do that, we actually have to have the motion. So do I have a motion for this?
I make a motion to issue a negative determination with the following special conditions. That the erosion control will serve as the limit of work, that there will be no stockpiling within the 100-foot buffer zone, and that if there were to be any concrete on site, a concrete washout area would be utilized for the project at 12 Gershom Drive.
And do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, and then I'll do a roll call. John,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
and Alicia.
Yes.
Okay, I am also a yes. The motion carries. Okay. And a negative determination with special condition was issued. Okay. All right, so what do we have left, Leah?
Excellent. Thank you very much, all. Take care.
Yep, good luck.
You too.
So is it just 23 Prentice Street?
Correct.
That's the last one? Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Let me go back to here. Come on. All right, 23 Prentice Street. So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent for the construction of 3 residential buildings at 23 Prentice Street. And this is continuation. Is the applicant here to discuss it?
Yes.
Please give your name and so forth, and go ahead.
This is Sotir Papalilo, and attending the meeting also is Chris from Hennigan Engineering. I'm not sure if he is there. I don't see his picture on it, but I suspect he must be on audio only.
Yeah.
Yes, Sotir, I am here.
Okay.
And if you want to just give, if you have a presentation, if you want to give it, I know this is a continuation, so be my guest.
Chris, I'm going to leave it up to you, Chris, to do that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. Just for the record, Chris Anderson, Hannigan Engineering. This project was before the commission a few weeks ago. Several modifications were requested and reviewed by our office relative to the changes to the site plan. Couple of changes were made. Primarily, part of the drainage system incorporates several low depression areas in between the buildings that were utilized to capture flow from around the buildings themselves and direct it towards our stormwater system. We took a look at that, and we were able to convert those into small residential rain gardens. So the intent would be to have the original structure in the same location and create essentially a 6-foot sump around the entire thing. And the bottom of that rain garden would be planted with a mixture of various plantings in order to help with the treatment of that water in that area. So we are proposing that within the area of yard number 3, which is between buildings number 1 and 2, and also at the structure designated as DCB 5, which is between buildings 2 and 3. So those two would be converted to rain gardens. And the second change that was being proposed is that around the replication area, I believe there was concern by several commission members about close proximity to everything, specifically the walkways, to provide an additional barrier, if you will, between the developed portion of the property and the replication area. We're proposing to provide a line of additional shrub plantings that would create both a natural artificial barrier between the development tenants and the wetland replication area. Those are the 2 modifications that are being proposed. If there's any questions by the commission, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
And how are you addressing DEP's comments?
My understanding is that Bill Hennigan directly spoke with DEP, and the response that we got from DEP was that they didn't have any comments. They left it between the applicant and the Conservation Commission. I think it was Shelley is her name. I'm not quite sure. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get her name.
So Leah, did you hear from DEP on any?
Child.
Excuse me?
Denise Child was the representative from DEP that Bill had contacted, and apparently she didn't have any comments. She didn't think that we were in any violation of the requirements. So she just left it up to the commission to decide what they thought was necessary to act on it. So we tried to find out from Denise if we did anything wrong, if it was anything that had to be approved or need to be changed, and we got no feedback from her. She said nothing to us.
And Leah, this went in front of Graves, correct? Correct?
Ecotech, but well, it went in front of Graves for ZBA.
Okay.
But if we can back up a second, the DEP comments we're talking about are the ones that they issue when they issue you your file number. So you guys should have been copied on that email when that went out to you. We also talked about some of them at the last meeting. The two that were still outstanding were the ones surrounding the subdrain and the ones surrounding the 80% TSS removal.
Chris, didn't Bill say that those were addressed in the plans themselves?
I believe so. Hold on one sec. So the 80% TSS removal, the project has been reviewed by Graves Engineering relative to compliance with stormwater management regulations. We've pretty much been given the sign off by Graves for the stormwater system. So the system itself has been designed in accordance with stormwater management. I know for relative to the TSS removal, I'm not privy to the comment made by the subdrain system, but again, the entire drainage system was designed in compliance with stormwater management, and again, given the sign off by Graves Engineering.
Yeah, so the comment from DEP, and again, this is, we get the comments copied on the comments also. And so we're just following up to make sure it's been addressed, and it says the use of a subdrain to prevent groundwater intrusion into the basin is not recommended, as failure of the drain could result in a permanent pool of water in the basin and or a decrease in the volume of the basin available to control peak runoff. So what we're looking for is just a response to that.
Yeah, so if that does occur, there is an operation and maintenance plan that's been agreed upon as part of the overall project. And within that, there is requirements for the maintenance of the subdrain system. So if in the event that the subdrain system does fail, which we haven't seen, but if it were to fail, it would have to be replaced and cleaned out and replaced and re-put back in on a regular basis in order to maintain the functionality of that basin. That's a pretty standard requirement within all operation and maintenance plans for these sorts of stormwater systems.
Okay, and how does a maintenance plan respond to DEP's comment about groundwater intrusion into the basin?
Well, the purpose behind the subdrain system is to do one of two things. One, it's the intent that during high groundwater events, that the subdrain will intercept the groundwater and wick it away from the basin. That way we're maintaining essentially a dry basin at all times. So in addition to that, it also aids in the drawdown of the basin after a storm event. So it's providing a double-edged sword, if you will, where it is preventing groundwater from seeping into the basin, and also making sure that the basin dries out during between storm events. Okay. So we are maintaining our volumetric capacity.
And then, as far as at last meeting, we brought up an issue that first of all, you're actually filling, and we wanted to get some justification for why you're filling. And then the second part of that is you're showing a one-to-one replication area. Typically, you don't get 100% of replication to take. And I'm just wondering how you're going to overcome the replication one-to-one. We typically see 1.5 to 1 or 2.0 to 1. And what happens if you can't establish a one-to-one replication?
I'm just curious from my end, not being a conservationist, of understanding what the Conservation Commission is doing. We have a comprehensive permit that we have designed the system to comply with the state's Wetland Protection Act. And I think the 1-to-1 ratio is what we need to comply with. Am I correct with that?
That is the end result needs to be 1-to-1. The problem is it's very difficult to replicate wetlands. And so if you do up front show a 1-to-1 and you don't have a certain area actually be able to replicate to have the function of a wetlands, you don't meet that requirement.
Right.
So we're not looking to increase that 1-to-1 requirement. What we're doing is that typically when you do a replication area, the entire replication area does not take, it does not act as a function of a wetlands. So many conservation commissions are looking to do more. So when you actually build it, if not all of it takes, you do get the 1-to-1. That's what we're looking. The end result is 1-to-1, but you run a risk.
I have a suggestion, if I may say so. I don't think we have the space to provide more than what you actually see on the plans. But I do have a suggestion whereby maybe there is a monetary value put in that if in fact that 1-to-1 ratio changes, we can always use the resources to do that in the event me as the owner of the complex does not do its responsibility. I have no problem meeting with the conservation on a quarterly basis, every 6 months, once a year, whatever it takes. You know, my job as an owner would be to make sure that we don't violate that 1-to-1 ratio. And if that's what we were trying to do, I mean, I think that may be an option that you may find reasonable to work with. I can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Sandy.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, Leah, but I can't hear Sandy.
Nope. I think your headset died.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, I always have a backup. My camera is going to be a little bit wacky right now, but I'm just going to shut that because it has my backup mic is in my camera. So the risk is on you. So if you propose the 1-to-1 and you construct it, but only 80% of it becomes a wetlands, we can't give you a certificate of compliance. We're trying to prevent an issue from happening in the future. If you go in, and this is, the state law is definitely 1-to-1. We understand that. Experience tells us when you don't give yourself some extra room, you may fail. And if you fail, we are not going to issue an order of a certificate of compliance. So from my perspective, if you want to take that risk, we will definitely have our consultant out there watching, you know, to make sure that replication is done. If that replication comes up short, well, you're gonna have to find some place to expand it to. So you're running a risk if you don't make it 1-to-1.
Chris,
Yep.
do we?
Yep, and to that point, there will be regular inspections by, I would presume, a agent of the commission on a pseudo-regular basis. In addition to that, we will have our own wetland representative taking a look at this during the course of its construction and its implementation and growing and establishment, so that if we do start seeing signs that certain areas aren't, you know, taking, as you would call it, we can address that at that point in time and try to get a remedy before applying for the final cert of compliance. So I believe by using a regular inspection schedule by our wetland scientists, in order to identify any problem areas that do develop during the course of establishment. I think we can get ahead of any potential problems down the line.
So I'm gonna open it up for questions up to the rest of the commission first, and then I'll check in with Leah. So Alicia, do you have any other questions?
I do not, but there is a comment in the chat, just so you're aware.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. John, do you have any other questions?
No, I do not.
And Helen?
No, I think I need to mull this over.
Okay. And just as far as the chat, and so I have a question from Susan Thomas. Will rain gardens use only native species? What plants are in place for maintaining the rain garden long term? Many fail when abandoned after construction. Also, can you explain how the replication wetland replaces any lost functions of the original wetland? What long-term plans are in place to maintain the replication wetlands? Does the entity in charge of maintenance have a proven record of doing it well with the previous similar projects? And I would just ask Susan if you could just add your address when you have a moment. So so let's kind of go through each one of them and to answer them. So I'll give the applicant an opportunity to respond to these. You know, what is the plant species in the rain garden or bioretention, whatever you want to call it? Are they only native species? So that's the first question.
Included in with the sketches that I provided to the commission, we did provide a list of plantings that are generally used for these kinds of projects, and they are native species. The maintenance of this system will be incorporated into the stormwater management system, same concept as the stormwater basin and landscaping requirements for the project. The replication area, its main intent is to function as the original wetland. So that's the intent behind replicating the wetland upon, you know, altering it itself. And relative to the replication maintenance, it's my understanding typically that there has to be several seasons of growing in order for a replication area to be accepted by the commission and by DEP. So it will be reviewed on multiple occasions to make sure that it does indeed establish itself.
And just, Susan, for your information, it takes 2 growing seasons to establish a replication area. And when you say 2 growing seasons, that's not 2 years. A growing season is in the spring and a growing season is in the fall. So depending upon when they plant it, it has to go through 2 full growing seasons before it's fully accepted by the Conservation Commission. So that should answer that question. Leah, do you have anything to add from your kind of review also?
Only potential special conditions if we're at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand this is a comprehensive permit. This was reviewed by Graves for compliance to stormwater standards. The DEP comments, whenever DEP makes a comment, we always look to have a response to that. Whether that is, whether our peer reviewer brings up that same question, it's part of the record and it's part of what they give us during their comment period. It's we feel it's our responsibility to get a response to that. And is there any other outstanding comments from Ecotech on their review, Leah?
The only outstanding one that I don't think has been addressed, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, was to include 3 to 4 foot tall shrubs in the replication area as well as what's currently proposed. So we could make that a condition.
Okay. And I think the applicant indicated they were going to add some shrubbery as a break between the development in the replication area.
Right.
Correct. Correct. It's our intent to put additional plantings between the developed area and the replication area.
So just a point of clarification, that's kind of two different things. They had a proposal to have some sort of as like a buffer between to deter residents. What Art was talking about was 3 to 4 foot tall shrubs within the replication area, in addition to the saplings and the other things that they proposed. I think that was echoed by DEP as well.
Yep,
Okay,
I think Bill had said at the last meeting that we were willing to do that work, include those larger 2 to 3 feet wetland plantings that you were recommending. I didn't know how many, but I think Bill had said that we were willing to do that.
okay, so we can make that a condition. We'll add that as a special condition. So as far as when we start talking about special conditions, I think one of the special conditions, Leah, that I would propose is that, you know, it's required to do an as-built of, you know, the proposed project and submit that. I would add a specific line in that the replication area shall be, you know, surveyed in the field, and that it's to be demonstrated that the 1-to-1 is met. So that means the area of the wetlands being filled has to be surveyed in case additional area is filled, and that the area of replication needs to be surveyed, you know, based on what, I mean, the applicant has indicated they're gonna hire, you know, someone to help with that replication area. We will also have our peer reviewer, you know, take a look at it to make sure that the 1-to-1 is met. So we want to be able to document that. So I would, you know, put that back to the applicant. What we're trying to do is set up a process so there's no questions on either side that if it, you know, if you meet the 1-to-1 replication area. So I don't know if the applicant has any comments on that.
I don't have a problem with that. I want to make sure that we meet the standards that are established in the plans, and we want to make sure that it's done the way the Conservation Commission is expecting us to do it.
Okay.
I'm fine with the as-built. I don't have a problem with that. Is that a problem, Chris?
Nope, that's a pretty generic general comment that most commissions that I work with require when there's replication areas involved.
Yep, and this will be an on-the-ground survey requirement to be stamped by a PLS.
Yep.
Okay. You know, as far as the maintenance and so forth, we have standard conditions regarding the maintenance. I don't know if anyone, Leah or any of the commissioners, have any kind of comments on adding something to the requirements of understanding and responding to some of the public comment, responding about who's going to be in charge of the maintenance after construction. It goes to the owner, and we just want to make sure we get their information. Is that standard that we require that, correct?
Yes, I'm just pulling up right now what our standard condition is for rain gardens. Just give me 1 second. It's just got to open. My computer doesn't like me tonight.
Okay. So I think what we're trying to do now is discuss what the special conditions are. And I think I have a feeling what we'll do is we'll probably, I would just ask the applicant that you're looking to close the hearing tonight. So that's a question to you. And what we'll do is, you know, we'll close it, and then we'll have to kind of go back through some of the conditions and actually, you know, kind of fill them out a little bit. But we're trying to give you a general description of what we're looking to do for special conditions.
I don't know what they are, but I would assume that, you know, I'm trusting Chris as the engineer from Harrington Engineering tell me.
So,
whenever.
so far, the comments that have been brought up by the commission are acceptable. They're general conditions that I've seen on others and doesn't inhibit the project thus far.
I'm fine.
And for us, it's really about documenting that things were built. Whenever you have a very tight site like this, my concern is that it's great to say you're going to do something. We want to make sure you actually do it. That's what
Understood.
That's what these commissions.
Providing an as-built is a standard and certifying that the stormwater system is in compliance with built in substantial compliance with what was designed. And so that's a typical requirement. Typical rain garden is based on stormwater management and DEP's guidelines, so that will be also incorporated. And all stormwater management systems on the property will be under the control of the landowner itself.
And the landowner will ultimately be responsible for maintaining it.
Correct.
So do you happen to find it, Leah?
Yeah, so typically as an ongoing condition, we have all rain gardens must be maintained per the operation and maintenance manual attached to this order by the individual homeowner in perpetuity. This condition is ongoing and does not expire with the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Okay. And yeah, so yeah, we can talk about if there's anything else we need to put into that, but so I like to, if there's anyone else in the public, please use the chat function. I'd like to kind of go around one more time with the commissioners. And what the two things is if there's anything else that you want to comment on, and two, if you feel comfortable closing the hearings and then, you know, preparing the order of conditions that we can look at next time and issue it. So Alicia?
Yeah, I'm comfortable as long as we can review the order of conditions at the next meeting. That's fine.
John?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, and Helen?
I'm fine with how this is all going down.
Okay. And then Leah, we don't run into any issues with any timings on the next meeting, correct? I just want to make sure we don't.
What gets a little tricky when you guys make a motion like that is that we have to issue within 21 days of the vote. So I don't know how that shakes out on the calendar, but if our next meeting is within the 21, maybe that only gives me 3 thereafter to actually get it out the door.
Right.
For example.
Okay. And our next meeting is the 26th.
Oh, wait, we have 2 this month?
No, we don't have 2. So this is.
The next one is on the 6th, which is the 21st day from today. So if we were looking, it would be my advice if we were looking to close tonight, we should discuss the conditions now. I took a lot of notes on what you guys just talked about. I'm happy to read back through them if that would help synthesize everything into one place.
Sure. Why don't you read them back and then we can actually vote on the conditions now.
Okay. So aside from our standard conditions, for special conditions, I have that the wetland fill and replication areas shall be surveyed in the field to demonstrate that the 1-to-1 requirement has been met. And also, as Sandy, you added that it should be stamped by a PLS. I have that 3 to 4 foot tall shrubs shall be added to the replication area in addition to the saplings and herbaceous species proposed. A peer review consultant hired at the applicant's expense shall oversee the replication. We also have standard language that covers the 2 growing seasons that we talked about earlier. And this was one from, I think, the last meeting, that the basin shall not be fully excavated for temporary utilization during construction, so that it's fully excavated after construction so that it functions from there on out.
Yeah, so if it's used as a sediment basin, it's not fully excavated. Yep. So to the commissioners, is there anything else to add to this list? Alicia?
Nope.
John?
No.
Helen?
No.
Okay, so does the applicant have anything else to add? And I will just put it out to any attendees. If you have any other questions, feel free to add it at this point.
I'm all set.
I have no comment.
All right, do I have a motion?
I make the motion to close the hearing and issue an order with the special conditions that were previously stated for the project at 23 Prentice Street.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
I'll do the roll call for the vote. Alicia,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion passes. So we'll issue the order. Anything else, Leah, to add to that?
Nope, that's all I have.
Okay, and that's, so good luck. And,
Thank you.
We'll be interested to see what your one-to-one comes out on your replication. That's going to be a high order to get there. And then we don't have anything else, correct? This was our
Nope,
last.
that's all I have.
That's it.
I can't see you, Sandy.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
I-
much.
I flipped my, I flipped this open because I had to get close to it so the mic works.
Oh,
I didn't think you'd want to see my face 2 inches off the camera, so. Having said that, do we have a motion to close the hearing?
Make a motion to close the meeting.
And do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, Alicia,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Helen.
Yes.
I am also a yes, so we're all set. Thank you very much.